The ancient world was measured in precise dimensions, from the span of the heavens to the census of the tribes. These figures often suggest a structure that exceeds simple arithmetic, a cipher designed by the Creator. We often overlook the dimensions of the ark or the specific count of a genealogy, assuming these are purely historical records. However, the internal logic of the text treats every digit as a carrier of specific meaning. This detail is emphasized in the Gospels, where Christ asserts that not one jot or tittle, the smallest marks in the Hebrew alphabet, will pass away until all is fulfilled. If the smallest pen strokes are significant, then the numbers themselves must carry prophetic weight. Historically, this study has been obscured. Through astrological divination and fortune-telling, occult practices have diverted attention away from the scriptural context of these numbers, using them instead to predict individual fates. Scriptural tradition frames the Creator as an architect who weighed the mountains in scales and calculated the grains of sand. This suggests a universe built on a mathematical foundation rather than random chance. If the physical world operates on fixed laws, the numbers in the text may serve as a decipherable warning system, tracking the spiritual trajectory of human history. The sequence begins with the number 1. On the first day of creation, light appears as an indivisible force. In this context, light represents the unity of the Creator, standing as a symbol of that which cannot be subdivided or broken. On the second day, a division occurs as the heavens are separated from the waters. This establishes the number 2 as a symbol of divine division, the distinction between light and dark, or good and evil. This principle of division governs the biblical requirement for verification. Ancient law dictated that a minimum of 2 witnesses was necessary to establish the truth of a matter. This standard persists into end-time prophecy. During the era of global trial known as the Tribulation, the text describes 2 specific witnesses who are granted authority to confirm divine truth through miraculous signs. The number 2 functions as a recurring standard for verification. It demonstrates that truth is often established through the tension of conflict and the necessity of division. The number 6 is defined by the creation of man on the 6th day. It represents human labor without divine rest, a state of existence that remains incomplete and prone to failure. When this human rebellion reaches a peak, the number 11 appears as a signature of chaos. In the biblical record, exactly 11 kings, from Pharaoh to Zedekiah, were judged for their rejection of the truth. This pattern of 11 surfacing during moments of judgment is visible in modern history. At the 1972 Olympics, 11 terrorists were responsible for the deaths of 11 Israeli athletes. The sequence reappears in the 2004 Madrid train bombings, which took place on March 11th. 2 years later, the Mumbai rail attacks also followed this rhythm, occurring on July 11th. The pattern culminated on September 11, 2001. The primary targets of the attack, the Twin Towers, visually mirrored the number 11 as they stood side by side against the New York sky. Beyond chaos lies the number 13, a symbol of lawlessness. The ancient ruler Nimrod, who built his kingdom in defiance of the Creator, is the 13th in his genealogy. Centuries later, the decree to execute the Jewish people under Haman was signed on the 13th day of the month. These recurring sequences suggest that ancient texts may structure the timeline of human history, using numbers to signal the impending consequences of rebellion. While the numbers 6, 11, and 13 track human failure, they do not conclude the narrative. The number 5 is introduced as a measure of grace. Under the ancient law, 5 types of animals were designated for sacrifice. These offerings provided a way for the guilty to be cleared, representing favor that was unmerited by the recipient. This leads to the number 7, the symbol of completion. It marks the point where a work is finished and declared perfect. This numerical seal governs the entire scriptural architecture. It begins with the 7 days of the Genesis week and concludes with the 7 seals, trumpets, and vials that finish the judgments in the book of Revelation. This structure suggests that the chaos initiated by humanity is eventually overwritten by a design of grace and completion. The final code is the number 8. Since 7 completes the weekly cycle, the 8th day represents the start of a new era. It is the symbol of resurrection and new beginnings. In the ancient Greek system, letters possess specific mathematical values. The name Jesus, Jesus in Greek, calculates sequentially 10 plus 8 plus 200 plus 70 plus 400 plus 200. The result is 888, a definitive break from the old world. The mathematical precision of these patterns serves as a testimony to the design of the universe. Every individual must consider their own place within this divine calculation.